Hi everyone, it's Heather Sparkles and welcome to another toy makeover video. In today's episode, I'm going to be giving a major transformation to this poor, abused Shining Armor figure. I have no idea what happened to him. I found him like this at a thrift store and I couldn't just leave him there. He seriously needed my help. I'm going to be turning him into one of my most favorite video game characters ever, Crash Bandicoot, so if you want to see his transformation, just keep on watching. To make the Bandicoot details on this pony, I am using something called Milliput, which is a 2-part epoxy clay. It hardens in about 2 hours, which is not a lot of time to work with. So only take what you absolutely need for your project. I do wish I had gotten the white version because it's more appropriate for fine detail jobs, but this is what they had at the store that was the cheapest. So here's what I came up with for the Bandicoot sculpting. I gave him Crash's giant eyebrows and his spiky hair, and I made his face kind of long like Crash's nose is, and I gave detailing to his legs so that his pants would look a little bit more realistic. I also filled in all the gaps left by the hair, so on his tail and back of his head, and I gave him that Bandicoot grin. So for the paint today, I am using a mix of Martha Stewart paint and Falk art because this stuff is pretty cheap and I think it works pretty well. The Martha Stewart paints are my favorite, but to save money, I just got a bunch of Falk art paints. So I went with a mix of like oranges and browns and that blue color for his jeans. And my friend Kelly was nice enough to help me pick out all the colors. So thank you so much, Kelly, for helping me in Michael's. So for the first coat of paint, I mixed some of the orange and brown together because I wanted him to look a little bit more natural and not so Cheeto colored. So for his base coat, I wanted him to be kind of an orangey brown, but at the very end, I did sort of put a lot more orange on him, which you will see later, because in some pictures he looks really natural, and other pictures he just looks really bright orange. So I am basically going to cover his body with a first coat, and then we're going to let it dry for a little while. Also, I have his pants taped off so that I can put the blue paint on there to be the jeans. I did try to give him a belt and it did not work out so well, but maybe I will go back eventually and give him a belt. Here I am just filling in some details of the face, just trying to cover all the white parts I need to with orange. And then I went ahead and put some of that white Martha Stewart paint on his eyes for the base coat of the eyes so I can give that some time to dry before I got to working on that. And I also did the other side, just kind of taking my time with it and trying to get it nice and sharp around the edges. Then it was time to paint those eyebrows. I'm actually really happy with how the eyebrows turned out. So I ended up using a brown paint and I ended up doing a couple layers so it would be nice and dark because Crash's eyebrows are definitely darker than the hair on his head. So I just had to go over it a couple of times, and I think on one of the coats I did mix just the littlest bit of black in to make it even darker. So then it was time for me to paint the inside of the ears. The first coat went on really sheer, but I just built it up over a few different coats with a fine little brush getting in the ears. And here I am just piling on even more. Then it was time for the hair. So the first coat of the hair actually turned out really light, but I do darken it up just a little bit the next time around. So I just really took my time to fill in all those little creases because there was so much detailing on the hair. My only regret about the hair was that I couldn't make it taller. I was like really working against the clock with this epoxy clay. So maybe next time I would put like some wiring and just make his hair really spiky and crazy. But I am pretty happy with how it turned out. It was so tricky to make him look like a pony and a Bandicoot at the same exact time. So I just did the best I could with his features and I'm pretty happy with them. So now it's time for me to paint the jeans, and I basically just took that blue paint and I did a coating all over the area that I made for his jeans. So one thing I wanted to mention is that whenever you're working with this Milliput stuff, you really need to pay attention to how you're sanding everything. As you can see, I really did a good job at like sanding at the top of the jean detailing, so it blended in really well with his legs. But on his face, I did not sand it very well at all. As you can see, there's still that really big line there. And that's the one thing that I wish I could change about this figure, is sanding his face really seamlessly. So whenever you work with this stuff, just really make sure that you pay attention to the sanding and really do a good job at it. Make it really smooth and make it look like it's all one piece. Otherwise, it's going to show through the paint and it's not going to be good. So I just kept working at it, trying to cover everything. It was really hard to get right between the legs. So then after that, once it all dried, I ended up taking a little bit of white and mixing it with the blue to make like a light denim color. And I painted the bottom of the pants to look like cuffs. Also, there I was just taking a little bit of water on my brush to get some of those messy bits cleaned up, because I definitely made a mess on this part. Then it was time for me to paint his little chest. So on Crash, his chest hair goes all the way up to underneath his mouth area, but to make him look more like a pony, I just put it near the bottom of his chest. Now it's time for the fun part, painting the eyes. So I first took a little paintbrush and some of that bright green paint I had, and I just worked on giving Crash like those circular eyes. Just have to take your time with this part. It can be really tricky. And so I just took a little fine detail brush and just kind of touched up different parts. His eyes look kind of funny, so I didn't have to worry about getting them exactly perfect anyways. Then while that was drying, I gave Crash a little belly button because he does have one and it's really cute. Then I took a dotting tool and I mixed some lighter green paint, and this is like the base part of the colored part of his eye. So I just used a dotting tool to kind of spike it out and give it a more interesting shape. Then I took a paintbrush just to kind of even everything out, and for some reason I think this looks like a cucumber. I have no idea why. And then I took my dotting tool after those layers dried and I used the black. So this is the part where Crash is really starting to come to life. So there I go, just taking my time with it, trying to get a nice circle. Also, I forgot to show you guys, I did paint his mouth that beige color and I put the white detailing on the teeth. So I am just still working on that black part of the eye. And then once that dries, it's time to do the highlights, my most favorite thing. So once again, taking my nail dotting tool and putting the white in the corner of the eyes. You'll also notice that I put a little bit of liner around the eyes to add detail. So whenever you do the highlight, you want it to be exactly the same on both eyes, the exact same spot. So I am just looking back and forth at them to make sure that I'm putting it on the exact same spot. So you're gonna see me flipping him back and forth a lot. So first I do a big highlight in the corner. I also wanted to say that I did try to sculpt Crash's iconic red shoes, but the clay I had here just wasn't good for it. Next, I'm taking the smaller part of the dotting tool, and I've been touching it up for some reason, and that's okay, you really want it to be perfect. And then I am doing another little dot kind of near the edge of the eye. I just think that looks really good for some reason. And of course, because I love really expressive eyes, I'm going to be adding even more dots. So this next one is kind of going near the top dot, and I'm just doing that on both sides. And then I'm adding one more in there. So there's 4 dots in each eyes. And I think that looks pretty good. You don't want to overdo it. Alright, every pony, it's time for the big reveal. Can you guys even believe this is the same pony? I think this was the perfect base for a project like Crash Bandicoot. And ta-da! Here is the big reveal. Here's how he turned out. I ended up coating him with Duraclear Gloss Varnish, and at first I was like really concerned about it because he looks so shiny, but after a day or two it just looks so good and it feels like a nice durable figure, so I'm really glad that I coated him all over with that. I also gave some detailing to his body to add some hairs and stuff like that, and as you can see I made him really orangey. I am just so thrilled with how he turned out. There's a few things I would have done differently. This was my first ever sculpting job, but I'm so happy I was able to do this little project with you guys. So that's about it. What video game character should I make into a pony next? It doesn't even have to be a video game character. What character do you want to see ponyfied? That's about it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Check my social media links in the description, and I will see you guys in my next one. Mwah. Bye!